A skeptic all my life, I never believed in ghosts, until a night at the Pine Ridge Motel changed everything. I've always considered myself a rational person. I'm the kind of guy who needs to see something to believe it, and I never bought into ghost stories or the paranormal. That all changed after my visit to the old Pine Ridge Motel. It was a work trip that took me to this small town in the middle of nowhere. My company was putting me up in a motel just outside the town. Pine Ridge was the kind of place that you drive past without a second glance. A relic of the past with faded signs and a rusty old ice machine that probably hadn't worked in decades. I arrived late in the evening. The sun had just dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the parking lot. The manager was a tired-looking man in his 60s who barely glanced up from his newspaper as he handed me my key. Room 12. Last one on the left. The room was nothing special. Peeling wallpaper, a creaky bed, and the faint smell of mildew. It wasn't anything I hadn't seen before, so I shrugged it off and decided to get some sleep. At around 3 a.m., I was jolted awake by a loud bang. I sat up, heart pounding, straining to listen in the dark. The room was silent again. I chalked it up to the building settling, turned over, and tried to go back to sleep. Just as I was drifting off, there it was again. Bang! This time I was sure it was coming from inside the room. I got up, turned on the light, and looked around. Everything seemed normal. Then I noticed the bathroom door was slightly ajar, though I was sure I'd closed it. I cautiously approached and pushed it open. The bathroom was empty. I stood there for a moment, feeling a little foolish, before heading back to bed. As I settled in again, I heard a soft whisper, like someone was speaking right into my ear. I froze, my skin crawling. "Get out," it said. I shot up, turning on every light in the room. I searched every corner but found nothing. Sleep was impossible now. I sat on the edge of the bed, heart racing, listening for any sound, but everything was still. Minutes felt like hours as I waited for dawn. At first light, I packed my things and headed for the door. As I opened it, I stopped in my tracks. Written on the inside of the door in what looked like scratch marks were the words, "Never safe." I left in a hurry, my mind racing. I didn't stop until I reached a diner a few miles down the road. Over a cup of coffee, I told the waitress about my night. She gave me a sympathetic look and said, "You must be new around here. They say room 12 is haunted. Everyone avoids it. A guest disappeared from there years ago, and they never found him." I didn't say much after that. I finished my coffee, left a generous tip, and got back on the road, trying to convince myself it was all just my imagination. But deep down, I knew I'd never forget that night at Pine Ridge Motel, and I'll never dismiss another ghost story again.